Hi everyone, welcome to FPL Moneyball, where we use data analysis to find the best players for your Premier League team. Today we'll be doing a Matchday 2 UEFA Fantasy football review, where I scored over 100 points this game week. So let's jump into the key matches this game week. So firstly, the first match that we would like to highlight is Real Madrid beating Almaty 5-0. There was a strong performance from Real Madrid, and the goal scorers were Mbappé, who scored 3 goals, including 1 penalty, Camavinga and Diaz with 2 late goals. So we can see the person to own clearly is Mbappé, who tops the leaderboard in terms of expected goals and assists at 2.22 I mean, and he's way higher than the other Real Madrid forwards, Rodrigo and Vinicius, with 0.68 and 0.56 respectively. So definitely Mbappé is a key asset to own, and I even captained him this game week, so he's got me 36 points in total from a very strong performance against a very weak Kairat Almaty side. So the next few games were a few games by the English Premier League teams. Bordeaux drew 2-2 against Tottenham Hotspur. Tottenham looked pretty poor this game, maybe due to the fact that they just played in the Premier League, but also they didn't look like they were creating much going forward, and the team looks to be adjusting under the new signings as well. So the goal scorer there was Van der Ven for Spurs, and they also scored from a own goal from Bordeaux side. So the defense looking a bit shaky over the recent game weeks, and I did have Vicario in my team, so a bit disappointing that Spurs haven't really had that solid defense which they had at the beginning of the season. Next match was Chelsea winning 1-0 against Benfica. Chelsea again having another man sent off, and I think this is the third or the fourth game in the row where they are down to 10 men. João Pedro getting sent off in the 90th minute. And Chelsea don't look very impressive actually, playing in this game against Benfica, very narrowly escaping with a victory. So none of the Chelsea assets actually stood out to me at the moment right now. So the next team was Liverpool, which lost against Galatasaray, and I did mention there was a very tough fixture for Liverpool, traveling all the way to Istanbul for this away game against Galatasaray after just playing in the Premier League this weekend. So their performance definitely was not up to par, and their form looks to be struggling after back-to-back losses from Crystal Palace in the Premier League and now Galatasaray in the Champions League. And I think another concern for them was that Ekatike came off injured in the match, so we'll wait to see how long this injury lasts from him, but Liverpool's attack doesn't look very good at the moment. On a positive note, we did have Inter beating Slavia Prague 3-0, and we can see that Inter's defense once again very solid. We did have 2 goals from Lautaro Martinez, as well as a goal from Denzel Dumfries from fullback position. So for me, the key standout asset here to have is Denzel Dumfries, who plays for a very strong and solid Inter defense, and he also does have very strong expected goals and assists stats of 0.78. Followed behind also by another fullback, DiMarco, at 0.46. Inter's attack also does look very good, with Lautaro Martinez and Marcus Thuram scoring 2.14 and 0.83 expected goals and assists respectively, but I just can't find any space to squeeze them into my forward line right now. So keep a watch on them and keep having Inter's defense for the next game week. So the next game was Paphos against Bayern Munich. A strong performance from Bayern Munich once again. They look to be firing on all cylinders, not just in the Bundesliga, but also in the Champions League this season. Harry Kane with 2 goals, Guerrero with 1, Jackson also and Olise getting on the scoreboard themselves. So for me, Harry Kane is a must-own asset, even though he played in a deeper position this game. In the number 10 role, he had a slightly lower expected goals plus assists of 0.96, but given his prolific form, he continues to shine for me in this Bayern team. Other potential assets to consider is Guerrero and Olise. Guerrero playing at fullback, and he does have very strong fixtures coming up against Club Brugge next game week, where I would favour Bayern to keep a clean sheet there. as well as the potential for him to get some attacking returns. And also do keep an eye out for Michael Olise, who was the man of the match performer this game. And I do have him in my team, so he's also a very strong candidate to own in your teams as well. So that was all for yesterday's games. Let's look at today's games. So the first match we'll cover is Union versus Newcastle United, which Newcastle won convincingly 4-0 after bouncing back from their late defeat to Arsenal in the Premier League last game week. Voltemade getting on the score sheet again, as well as two penalties from Anthony Gordon and a goal from Harvey Barnes. So the top player here is Anthony Gordon. Since he's on penalties, he had the highest expected goals and assists. And they do face the Benfica team, which I wouldn't say are very tough opponents in the next game week, and also do have a favorable run of fixtures. So I'll share that I do have Anthony Gordon in my transfer plans this game week. So the next match was Arsenal beating Olympiacos 2-0. Key thing to note here is that Arsenal did rotate a lot in this match. Their fullbacks, both Timber and Calafiori, were rotated. And unfortunately, I did have Calafiori in my team. And since he played on the later game week, I didn't manage to sub him out. So he scored 0 points for me this game week, which was very disappointing. So Arsenal is less attractive to me right now at the moment. And they do face a very strong Atletico Madrid team next game week, who won 5-1 this game week. So it's a very tough fixture for Arsenal, I would say, and not very attractive in terms of owning their players. Moving on, another tough fixture actually was Barcelona versus PSG, where PSG narrowly won 2-1 after a late goal from Ramos in the 90th minute. Ferran Torres scoring for Barcelona and Mayulu for PSG as well. So looking at the expected goals plus assists, Ferran Torres is the top, and I do think Barcelona has a very decent fixture next game week against Olympiacos, who just lost 2-0 against Arsenal. But it's hard to put any forwards from Barcelona at the moment due to the strong selection I have up front. So maybe the person who you could watch out for here is all the way at the bottom actually, Koundé, who played at fullback, and he did have a very low expected goals and assists this game week. PSG defense looks slightly better, although they do have a tough run of fixtures against Leverkusen, Bayern coming up. So I wouldn't really consider buying a PSG defender if you don't own any at the moment. So moving on, next game was Borussia Dortmund again scoring 4 goals against Athletic Club after scoring 4 goals against Juventus last game week. Again, a very well-balanced team. They did have a lot of players on the score sheet, so it's hard to pick out one standout asset for me. Looking at the expected goals plus assists, the highest here was Guirassy, but I think the person that looks the most attractive to me is Adeyemi because he plays in midfield, so potential to score more points from the goals, as well as having a easier comparison and benchmarks against the other midfielders. So the next match will be Monaco drawing 2-2 against Manchester City. And City actually played very poorly this game, although Haaland did manage to save them a draw, scoring a brace in this game week and keeping up his good run of form. I think he has had 10 goals already this season in all competitions. Although he did have a slightly lower expected goals and assists this game, it was still very impressive from him that he still managed to score 2 goals. And he's also one of the standout forwards for me to own in this UEFA Fantasy game and also your FPL teams. So last match was Villarreal drawing 2-2 against Juventus. I did bring in Yildiz from Juventus this game week, and it was slightly disappointing that he didn't score any returns for me this game week. Maybe looking to transfer him out actually after one game week. So just to recap on a player level, I think the key players to highlight here will be the top scorers as well as the top assisters, which will be Mbappé, Harry Kane, Haaland and Olise, which I all own in my teams. These are definitely the best players, I would say. Looking at the chances created, there are some interesting options here as well. Nuno Mendes from PSG, Elanga from Newcastle, as well as Dimarco from a very solid Inter team. Yeah, so that's all for the player statistics. Let's take a look at my game week 2 performance, and I scored 105 points this match day, with my forwards all hauling in the double digit. Harry Kane, Haaland, both with a brace, and Mbappé with a hat trick. In midfield, slightly lower returns, but Olise there matching Kane and Haaland with those 14-point returns. And defense, I don't think anyone kept the clean sheet except for Howson from Real Madrid. Calafiori, very disappointing as he didn't play this game week. And from the bench, we did have a few mediocre points from Vicario, Van Dijk, and Ryan Diaz. So looking at the transfer plans for Matchday 3, I do have 2 transfers planned, and that is Dumfries in for Grimaldo. So I think PSG actually face the Leverkusen team, so I don't favor Leverkusen's defense at the moment, and so I think it's a good time to move out of Grimaldo due to the very tough fixture and attacking threat of PSG. So the player I plan to transfer him in is Denzel Dumfries, who has a very solid Inter backline, and he does face a very weak Union SG team, which lost 4-0 against Newcastle this game week. So speaking of Newcastle, I do have Anthony Gordon in after scoring a brace of penalties against Union SG. He does face a few good fixtures against Benfica, Atletico Club, and Marseille and Leverkusen over the next few game weeks. So definitely interesting to have him as he's on penalty takers as well. I think some other teams you could potentially target are Napoli and Barcelona. For me, looking at Napoli, maybe look at Rasmus Højlund. Although it's very hard to squeeze him in the teams, he did score a brace against Sporting after assist from Kevin De Bruyne, and he faces a weak run of fixtures coming forward against PSV, Frankfurt, as well as Karabakh. So for Barcelona, actually for me the standout option here is Koundé in defense. I think he did score an assist against Newcastle in the first game week and provide 2 points against PSG. But he does face very interesting and very weak opponents against Olympiacos at home in Matchday 3 and Club Brugge away in Matchday 4. Yeah. So for me, I will be looking to own this team, and I'll make although this is not confirmed, and I'll keep you updated for any changes before the end of the game week. So for me, for the first day, the captain will be Erling Haaland. And if he doesn't score any returns, then I will captain Mbappé likely. Actually, no, I will captain Harry Kane actually due to the favorable fixture against Club Brugge at home rather than Mbappé, who faces a much tougher Juventus team. Although they did concede 6 goals already this competition, so not as strong as you would think. So with that, we've come to the end of the Game Week 2 review. Hope you found this video informative and useful in helping you make your UEFA Champions League team selection videos. And so do like this video, subscribe, and stay tuned for my next update where I'll share with you my Matchday 3 team selection and preview video. See you next time.